Hi everyone, this is my game review for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Now to start off, I'm going to go into a bit of context on my experience with the game. So I have just platinumed the game earlier today, a few hours ago. It was through my first run through, and this is my second Ratchet and Clank game. My first being the one they brought out in 2016, Ratchet and Clank PS4, which I believe was a reimagining of the first in the series. Why I'm giving you the context, or my context, is because my opinions may be different to someone who's played all the Ratchet and Clank games, and I believe there's about 16 in the series total, and I've only played 2 of them. So I don't know whether the first 14 are any good. Let me try and explain that the first 14 might have been really good, and bit of a spoiler, I thought this game was quite good, and the last game was quite good. The last game is the reason I got into the Ratchet and Clank series. So for someone who's played all 16 games, if the first 14 was superb, these 2 might have not been as good. So in that person's opinion, the last 2 might have not been very good and might not be what they classify as a Ratchet and Clank game. So my opinion and the context for me is I've only played the last 2, so I can only judge this one on the last one. But I don't think that's very fair, so I'm not going to really judge this game against the other game. I just don't think it's fair, especially when I haven't played the 14 others that preceded that game. So most of the time I'm going to talk about this game as a standalone game, which I think is fair. A bit about the game then. This game took me 18 hours to platinum. It took me 1 playthrough. I will briefly talk about the replayability of it. The difficulty setting I played at was, Resistance Leader, which is out of the initial 4 difficulty settings was the 3rd most difficult, so not completely difficult, and I thought that difficulty setting was alright. I probably could have, thinking about it now, I could have gone a bit higher. I thought I was playing on the highest available to me as I was playing through it, and as I finished the game, as I've gone back to check it, it wasn't the hardest. So I think if I were to start it from anew, I would put it at that harder setting. Most of the times I died was because of me jumping off ledges and stuff like that. I died a few times in combat, but not loads. For example, the final battle I didn't die in. I got quite close, which I'd say is pretty. It's a good average, good difficulty setting to have. But looking back now, I'd probably go 1 higher personally. And myself, I'm not by any way means a pro at any game. I'm just a casual gamer, so take that as you will. But for single player games, I think the main thing is to enjoy them. I enjoyed the game at this difficulty setting. Maybe if I'd upped it, I don't know how much more difficult it would have made it. It might have made the game a bit unpleasant. So as playing as Resistance Leader, that difficulty setting, I enjoyed the game. I didn't die much from the enemies. Most, like I said, mainly was me jumping off and being an idiot. So that difficulty setting is perfectly fine if you want a bit of a challenge and you want to enjoy the game, in my opinion. Now the replayability of the game, I couldn't remember this from the last one actually, but there is some replayability. I got the platinum trophy after just over 1 full playthrough. So through 1 full playthrough of the game, I managed to get every trophy apart from 1. There are just a few weapons that you unlock after in the New Game Plus. So there are 20 weapons in total. You get 18 from the main game, and then in New Game Plus you can get an extra 2. When you complete the game for the first time, you then unlock another harder difficulty, so an extra level, and I decided to play on that level for my New Game Plus until I got the final trophy, and it was a lot more difficult. I was dying a lot more. Hits were a lot harder and enemies were a lot harder to kill. But the good thing is there is so throughout the first game, the first playthrough, the levels you lock, not the levels, the weapons you unlock have, as you use them, you gain experience in them, and the weapons level up to level 5. In New Game Plus, you can use your bolts that you collect throughout the game by killing enemies. You can use them to buy weapons, and once you start New Game Plus, you use these bolts to then upgrade further. It's the weapons you already have, but it's a version called an Omega weapon, which what it allows you to do is level those weapons up now up until level 10. I haven't carried on doing that. Unfortunately, what I would have liked to have seen more is that the trophies encouraged you to play New Game Plus, because I would have liked to have done that. I may do it in my own time, but for this playthrough it's just going to be 100% getting the platinum trophy. So I would have liked to seen the trophies sort of aim to get you to play New Game Plus. But from what I've seen in the replayability, there is that replayability. If you want to gain all Omega weapons, which do cost quite a lot, but they are there and you can unlock them and get all your weapons up to level 10, which would be interesting. And I'd say you'd need to get them there to be able to defeat the game in that difficulty, because it was hard to start off with. So I'm going to start with the negative points in this game, and to be honest, there's not actually that many. The first one is aimed at the writing of the game. Now, the reason why I'm saying they're not really negative comments is because I sort of understand, and it's the writing, and it's because the writing of the game makes it feel like a Disney movie, in the fact that some of the writing is quite childish. And I understand that because this game is essentially made for children. I can imagine young children playing for this game, and they'd be perfectly happy to. It is a child game. But the reason I relate it to a Disney film is because it has that sort of writing. It can be enjoyed by children and it can be enjoyed by adults, but you just have to sort of understand and sort of gloss over the fact that some of the writing is a little bit childish. It's sort of in the way that when they're in a mood, there's one character that wants to be alone and they just have like a little argument, and it's a bit of a childish argument, and it's not really serious. But if you gloss over this, it's perfectly, the writing is perfectly fine, as long as you understand that it can be quite childish in some circumstances, but it is essentially a children's game, so it doesn't really matter. Then the second point I want to make, the negative point, is that, and this again, the reason why I don't like this one that I'm saying is because I'm comparing it to the other game that I played, and I said I wouldn't do that. And it's the fact that I don't feel the weapons are as imaginative as they were in Ratchet and Clank 2016 or PS4. Maybe that's because that game was a reimagining of the initial one, and because it was a reimagining of the first ever release, obviously they're gonna have more ideas on what weapons they want to use, and as they get down to number 16, they're sort of running out of ideas with weapons. It didn't feel like they were running out of ideas, but obviously the weapons are going to be, think they were going to be better in the first installment than they would the 16th. And like I said, the reason why I don't like that comment is because I didn't want to compare it to the other game, but I had to compare it to the other game with the weapons. If you'd never played the other game and you just played this game, and this is the first time you've played a Ratchet and Clank game, the weapons are going to be absolutely fine. No problem with weapons. They are lots of fun. I loved unlocking them and using each one and upgrading all of them. But personally, because I played the last game, some of them just weren't as quirky and as fun as the last game. But like I said, if this is the first game that first Ratchet and Clank game you've ever played, you won't have that problem. The guns are absolutely perfect. So those are my negatives, 2 slight negatives. I did have the other one about the trophies, so 3 very slight negatives. So my positives then, I thought the voice acting was very good. Some of the voice actors they got got in for this project are very, very good, very experienced. I mentioned the Emperor Nefarious a few times on how good I liked him, towards the end mainly. And there was a scene, I did mention it at the end. So in the credits, there's a song that he sings, like an evil song. And it's amazing. It's like a Disney style and Disney level villain song. I really think they should have put it in the main game. They should have made a clip where he's in his evil lair and sung that song, because I think it would have worked perfectly. And it was a brilliant song, and the voice actor was a great singer. And I looked him up, and he's been in a lot of games and some movies as well. So a very reputable voice actor, and you could tell with him he was very good. But in general, the voice acting I thought was very good in this game. I thought the visuals were great in the game. Nothing really, there weren't any, when any of the areas loaded, the textures weren't continuing to load. Everything, wherever you went, the textures were always perfect. Everything that needed to load would load. I'm not massive I don't have a lot of knowledge in how they develop video games, or but nothing was looking like Minecraft or anything like that. And it's a compliment to the game developers, and also a compliment to the people that made the PS5, because I'm sure it goes hand in hand. But the visuals were very, very good. I thought the worlds that we went to were very, very good. They were all different as well. I think there was something around 10 or 12 different planets you go to in different dimensions, but they're all different. So no two planets were the same, which I thought was great. Some were open worldish, sort of like a plateau where you could go anywhere around in the level. Some were very linear, where it'd just be paths. Some had sort of rifts, where you had to enter rifts and there'd be two different maps for the same level, and you'd have to traverse the map through different rifts, but the map would only show you like half of the map at any time. I thought that was great. Some of the maps were prehistoric, some of them were more like straight out of Cyberpunk, some of them were like desert wasteland, some of them were tropical jungle. I thought the worlds were, and the areas around the worlds and how they made you feel, and the environments in them were really, really good. A very, very good point in this game. And yeah, the final one is the story. So what I want to say about the story is it was quite a simple story. You spent the whole time trying to make a gun, essentially, to repair all the rifts. And when I finished it, I actually thought it was a lot longer game than it actually turned out to be. It was only 18 hours in length. I thought it was more of a 40-hour game. But for some reason, it felt a lot longer than it was. So you spent 18 hours trying to make a gun to repair the rifts, which is quite a simple story, but it was quite engaging. Like the different worlds you went to, trying to piece together different things. It wasn't too bad. One thing I did want to say about the story is that, like I said, I haven't played the initial 14 games before the last two. The new character in it, Rivet, it's her first appearance in Ratchet and Clank, and I really enjoyed her. I thought she was a really good character, and it didn't, spoilers for anyone that doesn't want to know this, it didn't end with, because they're from different dimensions, it didn't end with them going, well, see you again soon, see you later, have a good life. It just ended. So hopefully we see her in future installments, because I thought she was a really good character. You ended up playing her quite a lot, and depending on what world you went to, you would go to a world as Rivet or as Ratchet, and she was really good. So the weapons sort of swapped and carried on whoever you were with. They didn't change depending on what character you're with, but and she acted the same. She worked in the same way as Ratchet did, so it was the same sort of move set and everything. It was just a different voice actor and a different character. It worked exactly the same as Ratchet, but introducing a new character into the game, for me, it wasn't. you didn't end it and go, I hope we don't see her again. She, in my eyes, is a welcome addition to the series. In the 2 games that I've played, people that played all 16 might feel differently, but I don't feel the way that she's been, that the public have reacted to her. I think that the public have welcomed her as well, and why not? She is a cool person. Yeah, she's pretty much the same as Ratchet, but a female version. So I hope she's in further installments, and I hope that another character in the game who you call Kit. So she is the, how do I say this? She is the Clank. She's the equivalent to Clank in different dimensions, essentially. So she ends up with Rivet. So it's Rivet and Kit and Ratchet and Clank. And again, a cool storyline with her. And I hope she turns up in future installments. I hope Rivet and Kit turn up. I hope they both continue to make appearances in the Ratchet and Clank game. I don't see any problem with them at all. I hope they continue. So to quickly finish off, I just want to say that if you've never played a Ratchet and Clank game, they are generally a fun third-person shooter with lots of fun weapons that you can upgrade. You have different skill trees for each weapon, which are fun to unlock. The weapons get more and more powerful and can do different, and you get like different abilities with each weapons as they upgrade. The enemies are fun, the visuals are a lot of fun, and it's just generally the easiest way to describe it is just a fun game, and that's like the bottom line with games. You want them to just be fun, and this is a very, very fun game that is easy to platinum. Whether you want to platinum the game or not, it doesn't make a difference. This is just generally a really fun third-person shooter, and I would really, really recommend it. It's so much fun, and I'm sure this will, like the Ratchet and Clank PS4 2016 one, and got me into the series. I'm sure this game will get you into the series because it's just a fun game. So I've been thinking about the score I'm going to give it. Personally, if I was reviewing this game as it is a game, like I've mentioned, there are 2 or 3 tiny negative things that don't really matter. Like I said, it's aimed at children. I can gloss over that. The writing's a bit childish at some points. Gloss over that. The weapons weren't as imaginative as the last game, but they're still super fun. They were great to use. So gloss over that. And the trophies, I still played 18 hours, played the whole game. I would have liked the trophies to make me play in a New Game Plus, but again, very, very small. The amount of positives of this game hugely outweigh the amount of negatives. So if I was reviewing this game as it is on its own, without me having any, if I'd never played a game before in my life, I would give this game a 9.5 to 10 out of 10. It was very, very good. And I'm sure if you were to play this, never played a Ratchet and Clank game, because you don't have to play a Ratchet and Clank game to play this. That's a good point. You don't have to have played a Ratchet and Clank game to play this game. I'm sure you would love it as much as I do. Now, I have played games before, and like I've mentioned many times, my favourite game is recently come out last year, Final Fantasy VII remake, and also Final Fantasy VII. The original game is one of my favourite games of all time. If I was comparing it to that game, I'd probably give this game probably a 8. 7 or 8. 7.5 to 8, I think. 7.5 to 8. Considering my favourite game of all time is going to get a 10, this would get a 7.58. And as a standalone game, this game is a 9.5 to 10. It's a very, very, very good, fun third-person shooter. Lots of funny moments, lots of great characters, great visuals, great scenes in it. I don't want to spoil it. I didn't want to go into too much detail about it because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's such a fun game and I definitely recommend it. I really hope you've enjoyed this series. Thank you so much for all the support you've given me. If you've liked this series, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again soon.